Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series that I plan on doing a few videos of, and that is the board game that got me into solo board gaming in the first place, Spirit Island. This is probably my favorite board game of all time, although Final Girl is definitely getting up there now. Final Girl is probably number two, right behind this. I just think Spirit Island has a. I have too much nostalgia for this game at this point to put Final Girl above it. But um, this first playthrough is more so going to be kind of an overview of how the game functions. Um, and then later on, I'll ramp up the difficulty and show what more of the meat of the game has to offer. But for now, this is the base game, no adversaries, no difficulty increases. This is just straight out of the box what the base game is. So you pick one of the insane amount of spirits that are playable in this game. I mean, just look at this stack of just playable spirits. This thing is all like, this is huge. Like, there's so many playable spirits in this game. These are all fully playable like characters, basically. And there's a fat stack. Like I can barely hold it in one hand. It barely fits into the like one of the boxes. But there's like so many characters to pick from. I am picking a low complexity spirit called River Surges in Sunlight. So the way the game works is you are playing as a spirit that is trying to protect an island from invaders. So the game starts with, the island starts with some invaders already on the board. So here is a city with 3 buildings on it. Those have 3 health. You have a town, which is 2 buildings. It'll focus. There we go. Town with 2 buildings. Those have 2 health. You have Dahan, which are sort of the natives to the island. They live in these little mushroom huts. Maybe. Come on. There we go. This little mushroom thing. Those also have 2 health. And then lastly, there are explorers for the invaders. They're just one little guy, and these guys have 1 health. The cities, towns, and explorers do 3 damage, 2 damage, and 1 damage, respectively. I'll get into what that means in a second. So, as you're playing the game, there is this invader deck down here, which will tell you what the invaders do every turn. So first, they will flip over a card and explore that area, putting explorers onto the board. Then, when the card moves over, they will build in that area, creating towns or cities. And then, when the cards move over again, they will ravage in those areas, putting blight onto the board, and that is how you will lose the game. Blight are these little grayish black tokens. If I can pick it up, blight are these little gross bubbly things that you do not want onto your island. The land starts with 1 blight on it, and then you have a blight card which starts with 2 blight per player plus 1. So there's 1, I am 1 player, so 2 blight plus 1, 3 blight. And if 3 blight gets on the board, I will flip this card over. It will become a blighted island, and there will be a permanent negative effect that I will have to endure for the rest of the game. So that is the gist of how the invaders work. They will just explore, build, and ravage every turn. So let's see where they explore first, and I'll kind of explain as I go. So we have these sands. So they're going to explore these sands by placing an explorer at each sand location. And then this card will move over. And so now, on the first turn, they're not going to be ravaging anywhere, but they will be building in the sands that they just explored. Okay, so river surges in sunlight. Every spirit in the game has their unique spirit board and 4 unique starting cards. Some spirits will have upwards of 6 unique starting cards, but the sort of normal amount of cards that each spirit has is 4. Each one has a little ring around, so this is the cost of the card. So this one costs 0, and it has a red ring around it, which means this is a fast card. If you're colorblind, instead of looking at the color, you can see this speed icon here. And if it's a bird, it means it is fast. And if it is a turtle, it is slow. But otherwise, you can just look at the color. And if it's blue, it's slow. And if it's red, it's fast. And then each card has a range and a target. So here we have Flash Floods. It costs 2 energy. It is a fast card with a range of 1, and it can target any land. And then every card has a unique effect. So I'm not going to go too deep into explaining every single card, what they do, yada yada. That is just the basic of their speed, range, and targeting restrictions. And I'll get into what these little elements on the side of each card mean as well. For now, we are in the growth phase. So the growth phase, you choose one of the options on your spirit board, and you will get to do all of those things. So here we have reclaim cards, gain 1 power, gain 1 energy, and then there's a line separating the other option, which is place a presence at a range of 1, place a presence at a range of 1, and then our last option here is to gain a power card and place a presence at a range of 2. So presence is your, presence on the board. It is just symbolized by these little colored pucks that are on your board. So I start, shaking the camera. River surges in sunlight. All of the spirits have their setup on the back of their board. River's setup is to place a presence in the highest numbered wetland on a board. So each of these lands has a number on them. So this one has 5, this one has 2, so the highest numbered wetland is this one. So that's where I'm starting. And then I'm going to pick the growth option to add a presence at a range of 1 twice. So at a range of 1 means I can target any land that is 1 range away from my presence already on the board. So I'm going to place 1 presence. You place presence by picking which track to place a presence from. And then you will place a presence from the left side of one of those tracks. So I'm going to pick the bottom track, and I'm going to place a presence into this sand, and then I'm going to place another presence into this wetland, because the first one is at a range of 1 from this presence, and then this one is at a range of 1 from the presence that I just placed. And if you ever have 2 presents in the same land, that is considered a sacred site. Sacred site, for the most part, doesn't mean much, other than there are certain cards where their range requirement will say it has to be a certain number of spaces away from a sacred site. Actually, my innate power down here says it, but I don't know if you can see it, and I don't want to pick up the board and have all my presents fly off the board. So if it comes up, I'll sort of show what that means. But River's special rule is all of its presence in a wetland count as a sacred site. So as long as I have presence in wetlands, I don't need to have two presence in that space for it to count as a sacred site. It just is considered a sacred site because of River's special ability. Okay, so now that I've picked my growth option, we will gain energy equal to the number on the top track, and then I will have cards that I can play equal to the number on the bottom track. So this has a value of 1, so I will gain 1 energy. And then this bottom number is a 2, so I can play 2 cards this turn. So with that in mind, I'm going to play my 0 cost River's Bounty, and I will also play my 1 cost Wash Away. So playing that, I need to spend 1 energy. And then that will conclude my sort of playing powers phase. So after that, we move on to the fast powers phase. So if I had played any fast powers, those would activate now. But I only played slow powers, so I just basically skipped this step. So we skip the fast powers, and now the invaders go. So we will resolve this bottom invader track from left to right. They do not ravage. They will build in the sands. So this invader here will build a town, and this explorer will also build a town. And then we will explore a new location. It is the wetland. So the invaders are going to explore in this city and explore in this wetland. And then all the cards are going to move over. And so next turn, they're going to be ravaging in the sands and building in the wetlands. And so as the game goes on, the invaders kind of get more and more powerful, doing more actions per turn. But as the game goes on, you will also be unlocking your board, gaining more energy per turn and playing more cards per turn. So you're kind of trying to reach the point where you can like get over and crest over the power level of the invaders in order to defeat them. So after the invader phase, now we go to the slow powers phase. So all of these slow powers will activate, and I have 3 of them. I only played 2 cards that are both slow. However, they have, this one has a sun and a water symbol, and Wash Away has a water symbol as well. And at the bottom here, it's a little hard to see, but there's a sun. My innate power says if I play cards that have 1 sun and 2 water, I get an additional ability. And so this says it is a slow power, range 1 from a sacred site that can target any land, and I can push an explorer or town. So that will let me push an explorer or town, and then Wash Away will also let me push up to 3 explorers and towns as well. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to push this explorer into this sand, and then I will use doing that with my massive flooding innate power, and then I will use Wash Away to push up to 3 explorers and towns to push all 3 of these into this wetland here. And so in a single turn, I've just, like a river, pushed them along my presence into this big built-up wetland here. Then I will use River's Bounty at 0 range to gather up to 2 Dahan into one of my spaces. So I will gather 1 Dahan into here and another Dahan into there. And then if there are now at least 2 Dahan there, add a Dahan and gain 1 energy. So I now get to add another Dahan there. Ooh. and then gain 1 energy. Okay. And so after the slow phase, it is back to our turn, or like it starts the whole process over again, and we are back into the growth phase. I'm going to add a presence at a range of 1 twice again. I'm going to add a presence from the bottom, and I'm going to place it in this mountain. And then I'm going to add another presence from the bottom, placing it in the mountain as well. Actually, I'll place one in the sand instead. Okay, because you can also place it at range 0 as well. It doesn't have to be at 1 space away. It can be at up to 1 space away. So I have just unlocked this little symbol down here on my board, which says reclaim 1. So now at any point on my turn, I can reclaim one of the cards that is in my discard pile. So those 2 cards that I just played on my previous turn have been discarded. I'm going to use this reclaim 1 action to reclaim River's Bounty. And after the growth option, I will gain 1 energy again from my top track. And then I'm going to play all 3 of these cards. I'm going to play Boon of Vigor, which costs 0, Flash Floods, which costs 2, and River's Bounty, which costs 0. So I'm going to spend 2 energy for the Flash Floods, and then the others cost 0. And I'm able to play all 3 because I have 3 card plays. And so now I will, it'll move to the fast phase. And I've played some fast powers this time. So I will use Boon of Vigor so I can target myself and gain 1 energy, because this doesn't have a range requirement. Instead, you're targeting a player or a spirit. And if I target myself, I gain 1 energy. If I target another spirit, they gain 1 energy per power card they played this turn. So this is where you can play this game co-op, which I think this game really shines with 2 players, because you get to synergize with cards like this, or there's a lightning spirit, which I might play in the next video, where you get to make other people's slow powers fast. So everyone, you're a lightning spirit, so you just make everything fast. But since it's just me, I will use Boon of Vigor to gain 1 energy. And then I will use Flash Floods, which lets me deal 1 damage. If the target is coastal, I do an additional damage. So what I'm going to do is deal 1 damage to... I could kill this town, but I don't think I need to. Instead, I'm going to deal 1 damage and destroy this explorer in the sands. Okay. And now, that is all my fast powers. We are going to move on to the invader phase. They're going to ravage in the sands. So this sands has no one in it, so it doesn't ravage. This one has a town in it, so the town is going to do 2 damage. If a land ever takes 2 or more damage, it will become blighted. So I will take a blight from my Healthy Island card, and it will become blighted. The Dahan here also only have 2 HP each, so one of them is going to die as well. So both the Dahan and the land take the 2 damage simultaneously. However, after they have ravaged, this Dahan has lived the ravage and will fight back against the invaders. So they're going to retaliate. They have 2 health and deal 2 damage. The town has 2 health, so the town will die. So the Dahan did all the work while I didn't have to do anything. And then whenever you destroy a town, you gain 1 fear. So this is another mechanic in this game, which is really cool, where as you destroy the invaders' towns and cities, you'll gain fear or instill fear into the invaders. And you'll start gaining these fear cards, which all have positive effects. And the victory condition in the game starts where you have to kill every invader on the board in order to win the game. However, if you generate enough fear, you'll get to the next terror level where the victory condition changes and you only have to get rid of the buildings, but the explorers can stay. And then if you generate more fear, you will get to terror level 3, where you only need to kill the cities in order to win the game, and towns and explorers are fine. And if you generate enough fear, you can just outright win the game through generating fear. And there are some spirits whose sole purpose is to generate fear and win the game that way. Unfortunately, River Surges in Sunlight is not one of those spirits. River is actually very lacking in the fear department. None of River's starting cards generate fear. None of River's innate power doesn't generate any fear. The only fear that River will be generating is from killing buildings. So that was the Ravage. Now the wetlands will build. So this really stacked up wetland here. They will build a town unless there are more towns than cities, and then they will build a city. So, for example, if there is a lone explorer alone. God, I'm just, the sky is blue. When they build, the number of towns and cities is equal, so they build a town. But when there is a town and no city, there are more towns than cities, so you would build a city. And then now we're back to there are an equal amount of towns and cities, so they would build a town, and then there would be more towns than cities, so you'd build a city. So it kind of alternates between town, city, town, city, town, city. But so here, there is one town and one city, so the number of buildings are equal, number of towns and cities are equal, so we will build a town here. Okay, and then we will explore a new land. It is the jungle. So the jungles will get an explorer there and there. And then these will all shift over. So the sands, after they ravage, get discarded, and we don't have to worry about the sands until they get explored again. Now we move on to the slow phase. And I have my innate power here. I have played cards with 3 sun and 3 water. So I get the second level of my innate, which says if I play cards that have at least 2 sun and 3 water, instead of just pushing 1 explorer or town, I get to do 2 damage and then push up to 3 explorers and towns. So what I'm going to do here is deal 2 damage to this town up here, which will kill it and generate another fear for killing a building, and then push the remaining explorer into this wetland. And now I'm going to use River's Bounty to gather 2 Dahan into this wetland, and then I will add a 3rd Dahan there, and I will gain 1 energy. And so the plan here is they're going to ravage in the wetland next turn, and when this explorer ravages, it's only going to deal 1 damage. Now Dahan have 2 HP, so none of them will die, and the land will only blight if it takes 2 or more damage in a single attack. So the explorer is going to attack, it's not going to kill anything, and it won't blight the land, but it'll still count as a ravage. And so the Dahan will retaliate and kill this explorer for me without me even needing to play a card to do it. So, moving on back to so time passes, all the cards I played get discarded, and we are now at the growth phase again. I am now out of cards. I played all 4 of my starting cards, and so they are all in the discard. So on this growth phase, I'm going to use the reclaim all cards option, which will also let me gain a power card and gain 1 energy. So I'm going to gain 1 energy, reclaim my 4 cards, and then I get to gain a power card. So when you gain a power card, you get to draft either a minor power, which are these brown ones, or the major power, which is this kind of rainbowy bluish one. Minor powers cost between 0 and 1 energy. You look at the top 4 cards, and then you pick one to add to your hand for the rest of the game. Major powers cost anywhere between 2 and 9 energy, although on average they cost about 4 energy. You'll reveal the top 4 cards, add a major power to your hand, but then you have to permanently forget or lose one of these cards in your hand for the rest of the game. You will not be able to use that card again. So major powers are extremely powerful, but they are energy intensive, and you have to be willing to give up another card in order to gain one. Whereas minor powers are cheaper, they don't do as much on their own, but they also don't force you to get rid of anything. So I'm going to gain a minor power because I don't have a ton of energy. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we have Teeming Rivers. So this is a 1 energy slow card. It has Sun and Water, which I am very interested in. We have Gift of Power, 0 cost slow card, has water. I'm not explaining the effects yet. I'm just going over Unquenchable Flames, 1 energy slow card, doesn't have any sun or water. The reason I'm obsessing over sun and water so much is because that is what triggers my innate ability. So the more sun and water cards I have, the more often I can trigger this innate power, which is basically just another thing I get to do on my turn. And then we have Poison Dew, which is 1 energy slow, and it has water. So with all of this in mind, I think I'm going to take Gift of Power. This is a 0 energy card that lets me gain another minor power whenever I play it. So this will let me sort of have an engine to like gain even more cards with this. And then the rest of these minor powers will get discarded. And now the growth phase ends, so I will gain 1 energy from my presence track. And we will continue forward. I'm going to, let's see, they're building here. So I'm going to play Gift of Power, which is a water, and then I'm going to play River's Bounty. Okay. This is very good. So now the wetland. So I played my cards. It costs 0 energy to do so, so I keep my energy the same. And what I'm doing here is I'm intentionally underplaying. So this is a strategy that is very key to learn in order to get better at this game. I have the ability to play 3 cards this turn, but I'm intentionally only playing 2 this turn, so that way my next turn is even better. And you'll, when we get to next turn, you'll see what I mean by that. So for now, we're going to move into the invader phase because I have no fast powers. The wetlands are going to ravage. So this explorer is going to attack this land, deal 1 damage, not kill anything, not do any blight, and then the Dahan will retaliate and kill this explorer. Then this wetland is going to ravage. You might notice there's a little bit more than 2 damage here. There's 3 explorers, 2 towns, and a city, so that's 3, 6, 10, that's 10 damage. Way more than 2, but you only ever add 1 blight if the attack does more than 2 damage. You don't add blight for each instance of 2 damage. So this wetland will become add a blight, and whenever a blight is added into a space with your presence is destroyed. So unfortunately, I am now no longer in that wetland, but I don't need to be in that wetland for me to do what I want to do. So that is the wetland ravage. Next we move to the jungle build. This jungle up here has no invaders, so it will not build. They only build if it has invaders. So this jungle has an explorer, so they will build a town. Next, we will explore, and we get the coastal lands. Now, you might notice this has a little 2 on it, whereas the other cards we had just had a 1. So the cards with a 1 indicate sort of easier invader actions. So they're just exploring the sands, the wetlands, and the jungle. Whereas now, at 2, it gets a little bit harder. And so now you explore all the coastal lands, which is all anything adjacent to this big blue ocean tile. So this big blue ocean tile indicates where the, well, ocean is. Anything adjacent to that, so these 3 tiles, are coastal, and then anything outside, anything not adjacent to that tile is an inland land. So they will explore, getting 1 explorer in here, 1 explorer in here, and 1 explorer in here. Okay, now I have played, so that is the invader phase. All the cards will shift over. I'm going to use Gift of Power to gain a minor power. So I get to look at the top 4 minor powers again. So we have Gift of Twin Days, it has Sun. We have Prowling Panthers. We have Thriving Choke Fungus, which has Water. And then we have Cycles of Time and Tide, which has both Sun and Water. So I think I'm going to take Cycles of Time and Tide, and then discard everything else. Okay, so that's that one, and then I will play River's Bounty, range 0, gather 2 Dahan. If there are now at least 2 Dahan, add another Dahan and gain energy. So I'm going to go ahead and gather some Dahan over here, add a Dahan, and then gain 1 energy. Okay. So, oh, and then my massive flooding innate power here, I will push an explorer or town. So I will push this town into this wetland here. Okay. So time will pass. All those cards I played will get discarded. And then we move back to the growth phase. I'm going to add a presence at a range of 1, and then add a presence at a range of 1. So I'm going to place a presence. I'm going to add a presence to this mountain, and then I will add a presence to this. Oh man, this is rough. Okay. I will add a presence to this jungle over here, I suppose. Okay, now I'm going to use my Reclaim 1 power to get River's Bounty back. And now I'm going to gain 1 energy. And now I get to play 5 cards this turn, and I have 6 energy. So I have 5 cards in hand. That costs 2, 3, 4 energy in total. So I'm going to play all 5 of those cards right now. Okay. So that'll cost me 4 of my 6 energy. And then we will move to the fast power phase. I'm going to use Flash Floods to deal 1 damage in a space, and if that land is coastal, I do an additional damage. So I'm going to use Flash Flood to deal a damage in this jungle, which will deal, since that jungle is coastal, it'll do an additional damage, killing both of those explorers. Then I will use Cycles of Time and Tide to target that wetland. If there are Dahan, add Dahan. If there are no Dahan, remove a Blight. So I'm going to remove the Blight from this wetland, which will go back onto our Blighted Island card, or Healthy Island card in this case. Then I will use Boon of Vigor to target myself and gain 1 energy. So I will gain another energy. And then I will, so my last 2 cards are slow, and my innate power is slow. So I will not do anything else this turn, or during this fast power phase. So now the jungles will ravage. There's no one here, and there's no one here, so nothing happens during the ravage. The coastal lands will build. There's nothing in here, so nothing happens there. And then this mountain will build a town, and then this wetland will build, there are 3 towns and 1 city, so it is going to build a city. And then we will explore a new land. It is the mountain. So this little sort of castle icon or tower icon with the little flag, this will only come into play if you are playing with an adversary and have increased the difficulty. But I'm not playing with a adversary here, so it is just a regular mountain card again. So they're going to explore this mountain and this mountain. Everything will slide on over. And now it is on to the slow phase, where I'm going to use Wash Away to push up to 3 explorers or towns into a land. So I'm going to push these 2 explorers and this town into this wetland. You might be wondering why I am turbocharging this wetland. You're about to find out. I'm going to use River's Bounty to target a land, to give it, to gather some Dahan, add a Dahan, gain 1 energy. Okay. And then, so I played cards that have 4 sun and 5 water, and one of them has an earth symbol. So that will unlock my bottom effect here, which needs 3 sun, 4 water, and an earth. And this says I can target a land at a range of 1 from a sacred site. So this is a land that has 2 presence in it, so it counts as a sacred site. So range 1 from it, deal 2 damage to each invader in that land. So all these explorers and towns are about to get annihilated. So all these explorers die. Every single one of them. And then all the towns all have 2 health as well. So all 4 of these towns are going to become destroyed. I generate 1 fear for each town destroyed. So I will generate 4 fear, which will give me a fear card that I'll look at later. That fear card will happen right before, it'll happen after the fast phase, but before the invaders get to do their stuff. Okay. So that's that. Time passes, all these cards that I played will get discarded, and we will go back to the growth phase. Now, I no longer have any cards in my hand, and if you're wondering why I generated 4 fear but didn't move these, it's because I would have generated 2 fear, which gave me the fear card, and then generated 2 more fear, so it would have looked exactly the same whether I had moved them or not. Okay, so now I'm going to reclaim all my cards, gain a power, gain 1 energy. So I will reclaim all of these, and then I will gain another minor power. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have Favor of the Sun and Starlit Dark. It has sun. Visions of Fiery Doom. Dire Metamorphosis. This is a really funny card on like my favorite spirit in the game, but it's pretty terrible on River. You get 1 fear, 1 damage to Dahan, and then you just add like 1 of every token in the game, including Blight. Very funny card, but usually takes a bit to actually be useful. And then we have Domesticated Animals Go Berserk. Range 0, only target a land with buildings, 1 fear, defend 5. That defend 5 would be really useful here to prevent the blight that's about to happen, because they're ravaging there, but I don't have, it's a range 0 and I don't have any way to put presence there, so it's probably not going to happen. I will take Favor of the Sun and Starlit Dark, which will allow me to defend and push blight, and if I have 2 sun, which should basically always be the case, I will gain 1 fear. So gives me a little bit of fear generation on this spirit that doesn't typically have any. Okay, so grab that, reclaim all my cards, gain 1 energy, and then did I gain an energy already? I don't know, it doesn't matter too much. In case I already gained an energy from this, I'm just going to count this as gaining 1 energy from my track. I might be short an energy, but I am not too worried about it because I still have 5 card plays, and I still have a lot of cards that I can play. So we're going to play Flash Floods for 2 energy, River's Bounty for 0, Boon of Vigor for 0, Gift of Power for 0, and Wash Away for 1. So that'll be another 1. Okay. Now we go to the fast phase. I'm going to use Flash Floods to deal 1 damage to City here. So bringing it down to 2 HP. And then because I'm targeting a coastal land, it'll do an additional damage, and I will split that damage to the other city and deal 1 damage to it, bringing it down to 2 HP as well. I will use Boon of Vigor to gain 1 energy, and those are my only fast powers. And so I will pass the turn there. Okay. Or not pass the turn. I'm so used to playing Final Girl. So that'll be the end of the fast power phase. The invaders will ravage the coast. So these cities are going to ravage, which will add a blight. But the other coastal lands are empty, so no ravage there. And then this mountain will build a town, and then we will explore the wetlands again. So the wetlands will get an explorer, and this wetland over here will get an explorer. Okay, all this will move over. And then we move to slow powers. I'm going to use Gift of Power to gain another minor power. So look at 4 cards. Sucking Ooze. What a name. Strong and Constant Currents. It has sun and water, so it's probably something I'm interested in. Drought. Lets you destroy a bunch of buildings but add blight. Gift of Nature's Connection can be one of the most absurd cards in the game. Just to show you what it does. 0 energy, fast power. Target any spirit. Target spirit gains either 2 energy or 2 of a single element of their choice. If you target another spirit, you gain an element of your choice. This ability to have another player gain 2 of a single element while also giving you an element that you need is absurd. Like if you get this like turn 1 or 2, you can unlock someone's higher level of their innate way before they're supposed to. And it just, while still getting stuff you need because it still gives you an element, even though normally it doesn't have any elements on it. It's just absurd. This card is really, really, really good in co-op and even in single player sometimes as well. But I think here I'm just going to grab Strong and Constant Currents into my hand. And then another slow card, I'm going to use River's Bounty to... I'm just going to add a Dahan here, gain 1 energy, and then I'm going to use Wash Away to push this Explorer and Town into this mountain. And then we have Massive Flooding, so I'm now going to target this wetland and deal 2 damage to each invader. So I dealt 1 damage to each city earlier in the turn. They normally have 3 HP, so I knocked them down to 2 HP, and now they're each going to take 2 damage. So they are both going to die along with this Explorer. Oops. And when you kill a city, you get 2 fear for each city destroyed, rather than just 1 fear like towns. So once again, I'm going to gain 4 fear from killing 2 cities, generating another fear card. Actually, I totally forgot. I was supposed to, before the invaders were supposed to go, I was supposed to reveal this. So we choose an effect based on the current terror level. So the current terror level is 1, so we do this top effect. Each player removes an explorer from a land with beast, disease, or at least 2 Dahan. So fun fact, that actually wouldn't have done anything anyway. So that gets discarded. Generate a new one. Fear level stays the same, and then all these will get discarded. And now back to the growth phase, where I am simply going to reclaim all my cards again, gain 1 energy from my track. I can gain a power here, but I'm just not going to. The reason I'm not going to is because I already have game in my hand. So I'm going to play Flash Floods for 2 energy. And then I'm also going to play Favor of the Sun and Starlit Dark for 1 energy. That's all I'm going to play. And so Favor of the Sun and Starlit Dark is going to target a land, defend 4, push up to 1 blight, and then if I have 2 sun, it will generate a fear. I have 1 sun here and 1 sun from my Flash Floods, so that'll generate a fear. And then I'm going to use Flash Floods to deal 2 damage to this town because it is in a coastal land. And then because I destroyed the town, I will generate a fear, generating another fear card, which will reveal the next terror level, and the victory condition changes so that I win on destroying all the buildings, and the only invaders left on the board are simply 2 explorers. So that is Spirit Island at 0 difficulty, base game, low complexity Spirit. That is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this game. I mean, oh, I completely forgot. I was supposed to put a disease here too, and a beast, I think, here as well. Man, it's been a hot second since I played this game, so I think I actually made it slightly harder on myself because I was supposed to prevent the first build that happened in the wetland. But you know what? It's okay. It didn't matter. I'll remember next time. God, it is... I gotta shake off the rust. It's been a hot minute since I've played this game, but thank you all so much for watching. And I am probably going to be posting a little bit more of this and kind of split it between this and Final Girl a little bit, because I've now shown all the feature films I have for Final Girl, but I mean, you've already seen it. Like, I may have shown you all of the stuff I have for Final Girl, but we haven't even touched, like I said, the tip of the iceberg for this game. It is just obscene how much content this game has. But yeah, so this was just like a low complexity sort of intro to how this game works. I think the next time I'll play, I'm going to add an adversary and kick up the difficulty a little bit, choosing another low complexity spirit, sort of explaining how the adversaries work, and then going from there. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.